What I'd like to do is call a meeting to order, the Shellfish Advisory Board. It's March 25th, 5:30 PM. Before we start, if we could do the Pledge of Allegiance, please stand. Just a little housekeeping, and we officially don't have a chair, so I was kind of asked to sit here until we straighten that out, so, and we will straighten it out tonight. But before we go any further, I'm going to jump ahead in the minutes, just one item. I'd like to share some recognition, pay some praise to Ron Savaria, who sat with us on this board for 9 years. During his 9-year tenure, he sat in as chair, as a member, and as a point of counsel for a lot of people. He did a lot for us. He was our researcher. John Borden used to call him his researcher because if there was anything on the internet that could be found, Ron could find it, good or bad. So I just want to note his service and thank him. I thought he was going to be here, but he's not here. I thank him for his service, and whether he likes it or not, we're going to be reaching out to him for his expertise going forward. So I hope he's watching out there. Having said that, the first agenda item is a review of the minutes from last month's meeting. Did everybody get a chance to read the minutes? Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to accept the minutes of last meeting.
Second.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good, thank you. Before we go too far, is there somebody who can take minutes while we're here?
I can do that if you want.
Okay, thank you.
I'll do it as well, and we can compare notes.
Watch the video later.
All right, great, thanks, Cap. In an effort to either shed this responsibility or meet it head-on, the next agenda item is the selection of a new chair. And once we do that, we'll formalize it with Town Hall, and having said that, it's open for discussion.
So I would like to nominate Rick to take over the seat as chairman in Ron's absence. I think that he has the past experience and also the dedication and the ambition. He wants to do it, so I would nominate Rick.
I second.
Any discussion, further discussion? Chris? You good?
I'm good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, thank you,
Congratulations.
thank you. I'll take it on. I have big shoes to fill.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good job.
Big shoes to fill after following in the
Merle.
steps of Ron. So, moving on, agenda item number 4 is our update from Director of Marine Services, Chris.
Sure.
Director?
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
very,
Director.
very nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We will just go through with the relays that we have open right now. As of right now, Half Moon Flat is open, and it is open because it is in an unconditional area. The other ones that I'm going to read, I don't want to call them open because they are in conditional areas, and we got almost an inch of rain last night. So these areas are open when the 2/10 opens, but right now they're closed, just to be clear. So we have David Road, 294 River Road, Judy's Island, and the newest one that opened up was Great Island to Upper Spectacle Island Relay. The closed relays that we have right now are Ram Island and Shiprock to Sunk Rock. I know that we talked in a previous meeting about the dates that we would like to open that. I don't know if we want to talk about this now or we want to talk about it later. Number 9 on the agenda, items not anticipated within the last 48 hours. sometimes I like to call that other business. So I don't know if we want to do other business first, or do we want to rehash the opening dates for that? Because there has been some thoughts on some dates that we have. I can't tell you the exact
Well,
date.
why don't we talk about the opening dates? That's probably what these,
Everybody's here.
that's
Yeah,
probably
well,
what these
everybody's
guys
here.
want to talk
Okay.
about,
We'll
so.
just save that.
Yeah, because we talked about opening, well, we have 2 areas left to open. And we want to, when the areas open, have a good market. And we also, if other markets are opening or closing, we also want to know. In the past minutes, did we have something in there?
You mentioned June or July.
June or July, so it wasn't really set yet. So I would be open
Ram Island.
for Ram Island.
Yep.
Well, we can, I mean, let's put the socks and then the shoes. Do we want to open Ram Island first, or do we want to open Shiprock to Sunk Rock first? And what would we be looking at a schedule, just for open for discussion?
I think last year we had Ram Island first, or was it the other way around? Do you remember, Chris?
What's the difference in size, Chris? Bushels per area?
oh.
Just roughly like.
Roughly, 20-some hundred at Ram Island plus,
Yeah,
or about 600 or 700 in the Shiprock to Sunk Rock area.
I think one of the problems we should think about is if we open Shiprock later in the season, albeit midsummer, that's a busy, busy place. I don't know if we want to be out there, digging with all.
there'll be
Boat
more,
traffic.
more competition too.
Yeah.
To have all of the tourists, so to speak,
Yeah.
will be out there digging in the big area. Whereas if you left the big area till the fall, then these guys would be digging on their own. Mostly. Just a thought. I mean, you guys tell me what you think. I don't know.
I had heard
Oh, just so,
Yeah, just for clarification,
Yeah.
to go to the mic and,
yeah, just because,
because we're on television,
yeah. If you just want to say your name.
Yeah, my
and,
name's Dan Landling from Third Street. I had heard from where we sell them that Rhode Island opens up in September, which would put the price down quite a bit for us. It has happened before. So it might be earlier the better.
Yeah, maybe early is better for you.
Do you know when in September, Dean, is like the 1st, the 30th?
Well, when we sell alcohol in Marion, he had mentioned that to us, that Rhode Island has a different thing, and they get loaded, and the whole market gets overloaded.
What's the consensus from all of you? What do you think, Jack?
Ram
Ram
Island.
Island.
Ram Island is gonna be the most productive.
June, July, or September? Is that what you're asking? June, July, or September?
That's kind of what's on the table right now.
One of them is 2,000 bushels and one of them's 500 or 600.
I'm slowly retiring, so I don't want to speak over myself. I think these guys should
That's a retired
It
guy.
sounds like it makes more sense to open it early, before the September,
Yeah, it does to me.
before September, yeah,
If you have.
that's a good point.
If you have like an idea of when you want to open it, I can give Bosco a call from Red's Best. He usually, that guy's been marketing cogs since day one. So he always gives me an idea of when's a good time to open up a relay area. If you have any questions, I could step out, give him a call, and get back.
I think that we are looking at probably a June or July opening at this point in time. Just for Ram Island, just so we hit it when the market is good, just so people have the availability to spread the love of a relay area that other people,
To the
might be able to.
recreational.
When were you planning on doing Shiprock to Sunk Rock one?
Well, we have to look.
Yeah, the summer, isn't it?
We would have to look, because if we were to open Ram Island, say sometime June, July, we would then only have one other place to open up before Christmas. So we have to look at how this wheel is turning and how this wheel is going to open up and be beneficial. So if we were to have a Ram Island opening in sometime in June or July, then we would probably open that area maybe sometime in September, October, and then, well, no, we would open the Shiprock to Sunk Rock in September, October-ish, and then have Half Moon Flat be able to open for December. And then it's interesting how everything dovetails together, because we are going to say, not to shift gears too hard, but we have the municipal propagation permit for relay activities, and we're gonna talk about things that we would load up. Half Moon Flat would be one of them, David Road would be one of them, Judy's Island would be one of them.
So it'd be good to have them cleaned out.
Yeah, but they're getting cleaned out right now, because right now we have
David Road's set ready to go already, that's all.
Yeah.
is ready to go. So we just, in what we're opening, we also have to look at, what are we replenishing? And I think that it's reasonable to say that if we were to have a June, July opening for Ram Island, a September, October for, Shiprock to Sunk Rock, and then we could segue into like a December-ish opening for Half Moon Flat, and then whatever we would plant then, whether it be David Road, Judy's Island, or whatever, would then be able to cycle, would be able to cycle next. So it is a very interesting house of cards that we need to pay attention to, because we don't want to just open up the doors on everything and say, yeah,
How long will it take to clean out,
You have nothing to fish on.
how
Yeah.
long will it take to clean out Sunk Rock? That's only a small, what, 600,
It's-
700 bushel, you said?
Yes,
Small area.
and it's in an unconditional area, so it would
What's
be
that,
able
like
to
2-3
go-
weeks?
It, yeah, maybe a little bit longer. It's hard digging in there. It's just, it's like concrete.
It's a miserable spot.
It
It's
is.
Wicked hard bottom, and the
Yeah.
tide rips through there like you're in the Cape Cod Canal.
Yep.
Yep,
And then you got tons of rocks and stuff to deal with in there, it's brutal.
So probably
We
longer.
don't wanna, we don't
5
wanna be
weeks.
there in the summertime because of all that.
that's also,
Right,
yeah, it's like a,
People tubing out there,
tubing,
and all
it's
that
a-
stuff
yeah.
on Saturdays, and
Yeah,
I mean, if we open Ram Island in the summertime, it's a huge area, so if you have recreational people that come in, that's not gonna, they're not gonna
There's
put it
room
in.
for everybody.
yeah.
yeah.
But I think if you're gonna open up, Ram Island in June and July, I think June would be better than July, because you're gonna have that market, pre-July 4th market in front of you.
well, in Ram Island too, you're gonna have to watch out for the slime going in there.
Right.
If that place gets all slimed up, you
Yeah.
can't fish it.
Yeah.
That normally happens towards the end of summer.
Yeah.
So I think we have a reasonable timeline. I mean, we've talked about this timeline, it's pretty reasonable for what it is.
Mid-June.
I'm just looking here for a mid-June, I
would
mean,
definitely agree with that as far as sooner than later, and
Yeah.
as far as summer goes for Ram Island, because if it slimes up, we're screwed.
Second week of June?
I'm looking right here, Saturday the 14th is Flag Day. I don't think Flag Day is a federal holiday. And then it's followed by Father's Day on the 15th, which is that Sunday.
But don't we wanna open it like on a Tuesday or a Thursday?
We've had mixed reviews with a, we'll just call it a midweek opening. If we wanted to open it on a Tuesday, it would be June 10th.
'Cause you're
I would,
gonna have-
I would say that would be a good day, because think of it, as you're going into the season, as from a dealer's standpoint, you know, opening up on Thursday or Friday and having the guys load up the Shellfish dealer for the weekend with a lot of bushels isn't gonna help on Monday when they're back with more. So maybe,
So-
in the beginning, it's gonna be, you know,
I like
limit out.
the Tuesday openings myself. Sometimes the Saturday openings, I might as well be there with a starting gun and a cattle prod, you know, really, because that's just how it goes. So the Tuesday opening seems like it would be, I don't have a problem with that. I think that
Just
that's a,
pencil in June 10.
I'm just penciling in June 10th. If something arises where we've made a mistake, that we have time, because June is you know, a ways off, would we want to entertain anything? Well, I'd like to think it is a little bit. Would we want to entertain anything about the Shiprock to Sunk Rock area?
Well, I mean.
Or do we want to wait till the next meeting?
We can wait and
That's not gonna, it's, yeah,
figure it, it'll
we'll
open in
figure
the
it
fall.
out by
See
then.
how it's going.
Yeah, okay. So I think that that's reasonable, that June 10th would be,
September would be a good time to open that. You got 3 months in Ram Island that way.
Then that's a
In 3
shorter
months' time,
period.
That's gonna be pretty well hammered.
You
by
keep
then.
everybody
Oh, yeah.
busy up until we open Half Moon for
Exactly.
Christmas.
yeah,
Kind of keep it flowing.
yeah, because that's gonna be the first place to plant, when this show gets moving.
Which
Yeah,
place?
You'll do what? Half Moon and David Road and go to Judy's Island or something like that in that kind of order?
Well, we would focus on Half Moon Flat just because, we would want to get it planted, because there's that 2-month window that, once it's planted, it has to set for 2 months.
Right.
And that's going to then dictate the opening day. So we want to get that planted first and foremost, so we have plenty of time, because I think the last time we did it, it was like, by the days, and you said, okay, now it's time to open. So, anyway, I think that's a reasonable, opening date for.
Let's do this, since we took that out of order, would I entertain a motion that we all agree, or entertain a motion to open Ram Island on 6/10?
Actually, I think we discussed this last month, and Chris has the authority to do this whenever he sees fit. We simply are agreeing or disagreeing with him.
I think that it's hard for me to stand out on the end of the plank myself without some sort of process that says,
We'll back you up.
well, what do you think? Because I'm interested in hearing from everybody that's in this room this evening
Yeah.
to make sure that we're not missing something.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to miss something and say, oh, shoulda, coulda, woulda, and it was a big screw up. So that's something that I want to try to stay away from ultimately.
Well, there's quite a few guys here. It's nice to see everybody here, so
Yeah, okay,
if they do have an objection, they can air it.
all right. So let's just pencil that in then, and we'll just keep moving forward here.
Well, do you want to entertain a motion on that?
I don't think we
I don't
have
think
to, as
we-
Bill said.
I don't
have
think
to.
we have
to. We need
Chris
to.
has the authority to do what he wants
Set
anyway.
it?
Yeah, we know we had this discussion last meeting, and we just went along with, we had a discussion, went along with this.
And I'm sure we'll have another meeting before the opening, most likely, and you
We'll
can
have-
update us at that time. Hey, it looks good, we're gonna go,
Sure.
whatever you wanna do.
Sure. Okay, so, yeah, let's just keep moving with the update here. Ram Island and Shiprock to Sunk Rock, they had meat samples taken on March 18th by the state. Usually if I hear from them, they're bad, but I'm gonna call them this week and just make sure that they're good. We've never had a meat sample fail from anything in any relay area as long as I've been doing this, so. With that being done, that's the last piece that we would then be able to open up those areas. So then we are able, with the, kind of putting our heads together with everybody to try to figure out the best time in which to open it, we're ready to go with that meat sample. So I'll make that phone call and just make sure that everything is okay. Next thing, the Shellfish Propagation Gift Fund. Current balance, right now, this is money in the bank. This does not include the $100,000 from the Manton Foundation for this season. That check is usually released sometime in the spring. They don't have an exact date. But the Shellfish Propagation Gift Fund at this point in time has $207,275.43. So that is
207, what?
207.
207.
275.
Don't forget the fourth.
the 43.
Right on.
So that's what we're looking at with just kind of money that's put away in case something were to happen with this grant from the Manton Foundation, or who knows, that we could still keep buying some sort of shellfish to keep moving forward. Moving along, the 2025 relay had to go out to bid on a website named Combuys, because this is a website that has any bidding over, I think it's $50,000, $75,000, $100,000, it needs to go out to bid. We received one bid back, and that was from Bruce Ingham and the Nancy Christine. Bruce said everything would be the same as last year, except last year we paid $26, and this year we're paying, well, we might pay a $2.50 raise, so it would be $28.50 per bushel, up from 26.
Now, does that include, what is it, a buck goes to the
That does,
Commonwealth?
that does not include that.
So we'd be paying $29.50 a bushel.
Is there anybody besides Bruce doing it?
No,
I don't think so.
not at this point in time.
So he's just
He,
control.
Bruce is the person that's doing it, and we're very happy that for another year. Last year he had some breakdowns, but that's just the nature of the beast. But that is the quote that we got back from him. Just doing some quick math, 5,000 bushels times $28.50, I believe is $142,500. It's a number. That's a big number
Yeah,
for.
it'd be nice if he gave us full bushels.
That would be, well, they
forget
do
the
weigh
dollar.
out, they weigh out more. We've had the state down there, and they've taken random things, and from what I've seen on the scale, it always looks over. Yes, there are some under, but there's also a lot are over, so,
Really, 2 of those makes it over.
it's 2 boxes. But if you want to make a comment, you can stand up in the microphone. It's hard to talk to the back of the room. If you'd like to make a comment, you can come state your name and talk into the microphone, if you don't mind. So,
Chris, can you negotiate this at all, or is this just, that's it?
I've never negotiated it. For a bushel being $28.50, and then it goes into the machine that is the Westport River, what does a $28.50 bushel then turn into?
For who?
Let's see. We have a lot of people that are,
Oh, no, it's definitely a
yeah,
moneymaker. And
Yeah.
there's also the thing that we have to keep in mind
not
that
saying it's a
there's
loser.
also a piece for the town, licenses, gas, all that stuff, you know, that you can't measure.
it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I think if there were 3 other boats and you had 3 bids
Yeah.
that you could go after,
One might be lower,
Yeah, it's sold.
one might be lower.
you know?
But
Two-
at
Two
this-
might be higher.
But at this point in time, to negotiate the sole person that's doing this, with the rising cost of everything, I mean, the boat's feeling it, I'm feeling it, everybody in this room is probably feeling some sort of inflation. If you're not, let me know, because I need to get on your routine.
Chris, historically, just rough numbers, in the
Sure.
past 5 years,
Yes.
how much has he gone up on an annual basis? off the top of your head?
Anywhere from $1, maybe $1.50.
But he's gone up every year.
He's gone up every year.
And he's been, it's a sole source. He's been the only bidder.
Yes.
Does the size ratio requirement that we know?
If you need, can we just talk into the microphone? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Plus, I want to know where you live.
I like to sleep. Jack Scammels, Hillcrest Acres, Westport. I know we used to have a requirement with Bruce on the ratio of little necks to other
Yes.
size coags. Is that still in the?
It's the same contract as last year.
What was that?
I don't have the contract with me, but I believe it was something where it was 70% neck.
70% neck.
Yes.
Okay. So when that went out to bid, the other people that were able to bid on that knew that they had to.
When it went out on combis, it had a bid specification sheet that was with it, which was the same bid specification that we've been using since
And
since
who-
I've started.
And who kept their eyes on? I know John Borden always counted them to make sure there was enough, they reached the 70% neck, but
Yeah, well, would be us unloading it. It would also be good luck returning it. What, are you gonna take half a load
Right.
and then give the only guy that's doing this for us,
But that-
50 bushels back?
right.
You're not really making good neighbors doing that or making good business.
But
Some
that's a-
days are great, some days are meh. But that's just the ebb and flow of this whole thing. If we really want to put all of this stuff under a microscope with the sole person that's providing all of these jobs and all of this money,
Oh, yeah, no, I agree.
Well, I don't think we even reached our max last year, did we?
we were 48 and change, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were 100 and something bushel short. I don't think I'd turn any more away.
I just think that if you're talking about money per bushel, the
Yep.
percent of Little Necks is just as important as the amount of money that you're paying them.
I mean, to your point, Jack, you know, for those of us who are there unloading them every day, it's pretty fair. I mean, some days we'll get a great load of neck, and other days we'll get a not so great load. It's just so, I mean, I think at the end of the day, Chris, I don't know, you're there, Cap, you're there. I mean, and Chris is there every day, so, you know, we can't count it. We
But in
can't
the-
count it, but
in
I
the
think,
contract,
in fairness, I think it's
he is supposed to give us 70% of.
right.
Now, is that Little Neck or Top Neck? Does that?
It's not, I don't think it's.
Tops or neck.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Top or Little Neck, right? So
Yeah.
it would be Top.
I think it's both. I think it's both.
Tops and count neck.
You know, we'll get the.
I think they all
contract
fall
and
under the
take a
same
look at it.
category.
It's,
I
Little
don't
necks go
believe-
from count neck, top neck, it's all the same.
Yeah.
Not the same size, but.
What I can say also is that when I started doing this with Gary Sherman, I'm trying to think that the day that broke the truck, it didn't break the truck, but we had 119 bushels on the trailer, in the truck, in the whatever. And this area is only so big. And if you were to take a look to see what the other towns were getting, size-wise, and then what Westport gets, so right now, what's the average day? 80, you know, it used to be 90, 100, whatever. I'm not saying that it's getting fished out, but I'm saying that the numbers are not what they used to be. And so the dredge boat, it's trying its best to get us the best possible product.
Yes.
And I'm not about to refuse a load.
Yeah.
Unless it is back to back to back uncontractable stuff. No, I'm just, this is just, no, I'm not, I'm just talking. I mean, this is,
Still in the contract.
it's still in the contract, yeah, yeah.
It's still in a contract, but it's really, like the director says, we're not in a position to argue at this point. It's the sole source. If we don't get that sole source, everybody in the room's out of business. I mean,
If that goes to bid to different companies, do the other companies realize that that's 70%?
well, they all,
Yeah, everybody that went on combis gets the same bid specification sheet.
Yeah.
Across the board, not somebody, we don't have a special one for, you know,
yeah, it's basically an electronic state website that if you're in a business, you go look at it, you make a decision. If there's anyone out there that's in the business, we don't even, I don't know, we don't
There
even
aren't
know.
many guys. There are not many.
But
I think that a lot, I mean, there might be interest in it, but because Bruce has been doing it for so long, when Bruce is ready to pass the torch, which I hope is never, that maybe people will emerge. But until then, this is his business, this is his baby, this is the thing that he put together,
I don't think
and
anybody disagrees on having him as our,
I mean, he's been, you know, it's a lot of, and I bend over backwards for him to make this contract happen. And, you know, he has breakdowns, he has whatever, and we're there to help. You know, I was holding some
Yeah, it's a
kid's waist on the top of the mast, saying, can you get up there to get that? Because we need to unload this boat, and unless we get that thing back down, we can't winch these things, and we're gonna be, you know, building the pyramids, which when the winch breaks, you have to load them up this, you know, on and then into the trailer and like whatever. And, you know, we do our best to make it a smooth running machine.
it's a lot of work that a lot of people don't know how much work it is.
It's a lot of work, yeah.
it's tough work, too.
With Gary Sherman a couple times, and it's.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So anyway, let's just, okay, let's, just moving right along here. For the rest of the update, so we received that one bid And it's up to us right now, because the next select board meeting isn't until
14th, I
the
think.
14th. And we wanted to bring this because we want to get this contract signed, and we want to get it to the select board on the 14th. The thing that we need to take a look at, though, is that if we plant, if we said $142,500 is too much, we can afford it right now. We're going to do a shell stock, you know. If we were to say, well, do you want to plant 4,500? Do you want to have a $4,000 contract? Do you want to bring the number down to 112,000 or 114,000? Trying to think what the 4,000 times 2,850 would be. But this would be the time to talk about it, because we're not going to have another opportunity to talk about it. As far as I'm concerned, things are good. We have the money in the bank. Let's let it rip.
Exactly.
Unless we think that that's too expensive.
No.
And what's the alternative?
Well, a 4,000 at 2,850 would be $114,000.
That contract is for 5,000, correct?
The contract
The one that he
hasn't,
had-
the contract can be whatever we want the contract to be
So
at
when
this
it was
point.
put out to bid, it didn't have a number?
I believe it was a 5,000.
So the
believe it
bid
was.
that he
So the bid.
submitted is for
Is for
5,000.
5,000, which, yeah, we don't want to go against whatever was out for bid at the
Right.
combines. And maybe next year we should do this sooner because,
Yeah.
yeah, it was something that was overlooked, and as things get a little more expensive,
Yep.
we should take a closer look at it. But at this point in time, here we are, and we would ask this board, do we accept this contract and moving forward to be signed by Bruce Ingham and the select board with a recommendation on April 14th, 2025?
And just to formalize this, is there a motion to accept this contract as written? And if there is,
I move we accept the contract, 5,000 bushels at $28.50 as stipulated.
I will second that.
do I have a second by Skip? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, moving on.
That's it for me.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. We could keep talking.
Oh, we're good.
There's probably something else, but yeah, no, let's.
All right, thank you, Director. We have a couple of issues. I was not at the January 30th meeting, and a couple of issues that came up. The next item is a discussion, and I put this in here, and it does not have to be a discussion, but I put it in to be a discussion. To confirm the age of aquaculture license to 16 years of age. Town Hall called me and asked me to basically confirm that, because my understanding was, I don't know if it was tabled last time or not, but what they're requesting is, if that's the wish or the suggestion of this board, that the chair send a letter to Town Hall so that they can make the adjustment in the aquaculture license section of it is a bylaw, the bylaws.
What would be the reason the 16-year-old would want an aquaculture license?
If I remember correctly, it lines up with the state? No,
I think it's the-
fisherman's license.
It's the state.
Is it the state?
I believe it's the state. And looking at this, I mean, I would suggest doing whatever the state has set forth for this.
Right now, it's 14. I think it's 14 in the town.
Here's what we have to look at, because in looking at what the state would be and what the town would be, and ultimately, if the town is going into contract on a aquaculture site, it would be, what would the town be comfortable in doing? Also, what would the state have to say about it?
I saw it in here. Hold on. Bear with me. if my memory serves me correctly, I think the town says it's 14. This board suggested it line up with the state at 16, and there were comments made that at 14, you can't even drive a car. So I guess what town hall is looking for, this board to affirm that, send a letter so that Paula can change the bylaw and add it in, that the age is going from 14 to 16 and comports with the Commonwealth.
Can I make a motion?
Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we revise the minimum age to acquire an aquaculture license to line up with the state of Massachusetts at age 16.
Second.
Second? Any discussion, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay, this is the one I think you're all here for. Temperature regulations. I can make this very simple. My understanding was on a January 30th meeting, it was tabled. There was no indicator as to when it was tabled to. So I put it on the agenda to bring it up, and if we're going to move to table it, either we move it to a certain date, or we table it indefinitely, or we put an end to that discussion. So it's open for discussion.
I cannot support this.
I'm sorry?
And I'll tell you why. I made my opinions clear to you guys. Really do. There are certainly some merits to this. My thinking going into this was, A, you'd want to protect some knucklehead for getting himself killed in icy waters in the river, and B, you'd want to protect the integrity of the shellfish and therefore the integrity of all the shellfish in the Westport River. I see that a little different now. When it comes to the integrity of the shellfish, and I think Chris made this point at the last meeting, that's really between the seller and the buyer. If I have a bushel of quahogs and I sell them to Vasco and they're all dead, that's between me and him. I can't see how that comes back to the town, and I can't see how that affects the integrity of the shellfish that are in the river. If that were not the case, I think I'd feel different about it. The other side to this that I cannot support is government in any level telling a man or a woman that they can or cannot go out on the river when they see fit to. To me, that's just a basic political belief that I have. Maybe political is not the right word, just a common sense belief. I don't think it's up to us to say you can or cannot go on a given day. So for those two reasons, I simply cannot support this. And I've said to Rick, and I think Skip as well, there are some merits to this. But I just think implementing all of this is just fraught with trouble and variables and anguish that would take us off the focus that we seem to be on right now. So I really think we should put this one to bed.
Yeah, I'm going to make a statement as well. I think I had made a motion at the last meeting to table it because Rick wasn't here and I wanted to get some input from him. And in that time, I talked to Andrade's Catch and Southeast Shellfish about their buying and what they do down there and how they handle Narragansett Bay. And he said, that they both said there's no temp restrictions, so I'll follow that lead and say, why would our town want to be the one that is different than everyone else? So if nobody else in the surrounding community seems to think it's an issue, and they would have said if there was, and they didn't, so I would agree with you, Bill, that I think there's merit to it, too. I think John Borden's, one of his main concerns about winter fishing was that once the water temperature gets below 40 degrees or so, Chris, you probably know this better than me, they don't go back into the mud. And so that's why we don't like high grading, because we don't like you to throw the shellfish back. It's going to die anyway, even though it went back alive. It'll sit on top of the mud and it won't dig its way in. But that's got nothing to do with this. So to me, I just don't see how you can even enforce it, Chris. You know, it'd just be a nightmare for you every day to get up and take the temperature and see if it's cold out and then putting up a red flag and telling people they can't go. I mean, I think it's creating a problem,
Well, there's a dozen other towns.
personally.
I think somebody did the research on this.
Yeah. And
Different
then
towns.
somebody's gonna patrol it and tell you that you gotta go home. It just, I don't, it just sounds to me like it's just a hornet's nest.
I think it's a bridge too far, quite
Yeah,
honestly.
I agree.
TV, you would have a...
End of discussion.
Okay.
He agrees.
I think he agrees. I wasn't here, and I appreciate the opportunity to weigh in. So I have a couple of thoughts, but at the end of the day, I just want to get to the end of the day. My thing was the public safety piece going out there, but being out there, myself with you guys and everybody else that goes out there, we're not out there at 14 degrees. We're not out there at 20 degrees. We're not out there at 28 when the wind's blowing 30 either. That's common sense. I would hate to have to be in a rescue position to go out and bail somebody that goes over the side. But, you know, that can happen anywhere, anytime, to anybody doing anything. No matter what you're doing, they could be offshore cod fishing. It
be
doesn't
duck
matter to
hunting.
me. But the other thing is the integrity of the fish. I did a lot of research with former Chair Ron from Chatham, Eastham, all the way back west, including Swansea, Dartmouth, pretty much all the cities and towns, Mattapoisett, Marion, all the way across. And very few of them, in fact, I think 2 out of all those towns had temperature restrictions. And of the 2, one of them was scallops only, bay scallops only. And so I didn't see a whole lot of activity. I thought I'd see more. I will say that out Eastham, or one of those towns out on the further elbow of the Cape, did have a restriction. Falmouth does have a restriction, but their fishery is entirely different than ours. They have a lot of different bays and coves that are tucked in, places where the wind isn't. We don't have that. We're exposed the way Westport lies. We're exposed no matter where the wind's from. So having said all that, I agree with the other members of the board and to what the director has said, that we should probably put this to bed. And so what I would do to put this to bed is entertain a motion, and I would like to ask that the motion either have the word indefinite in it or somehow bring finality to it. Do I hear a motion?
A motion to not discuss the temperature, low temperature restriction fishing.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, so the motion again, Chris? Say it again?
That there will be no low temperature restriction
There you go.
for shellfishing.
Okay. And we have a second on that, Cap?
Yep.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Watch the room clear out now. March Madness.
You guys are not leaving, we're not leaving phone numbers here, because we're gonna get you all due reading. I know Jack does, and I see all the other faces. I don't see too many of you guys, Scott
You
does.
got my number, you always had my number.
So leave me your phone number before you leave. We're gonna wrap you all into this relay.
Okay, next agenda item. We have, over time, had a number of vacancies come up on this board, like most boards in town. Currently, we have 2 letters that came to us to replace the former chair, Ron. Those letters are in front of us. Most people are seeing them for the first time, or at least one of them for the first time tonight. When I was thinking about this, I was thinking of formalizing it and saying that when a vacancy, and I talked about this with Town Hall, I suggested that when a vacancy occurs, we publicize it on the town website and give 30 days or whatever the number is for people who are interested to write a letter to the town as well as the chair, or the town who will forward it to the chair, and then this committee can revise it. Historically, it's kind of been whispering in somebody's ear. And I don't know if that's the right way, I don't know if it's the wrong way, but this way, at least people are going to have to, that have an interest, are going to take it serious, write a letter if they're interested, and make a commitment to be part of the process. So what I would like to discuss now is the possibility of formalizing it in that way, in that a person that's interested, we do have two here now, a person that's interested has 30 days to write a letter, or 30 days from the resignation, and then at that point, the letters come in, the advisory board takes a look at them, and goes forward from there. Does that make sense? Does that seem fair? I mean, because we're all drifting around out there on a cold day, hey, you want to go on the Shellfish board? Yeah, what's involved? I don't know. And unfortunately, yeah, okay. And then somebody whispers to somebody, and that's what happens. I think the goal is to keep this more on a more of a formal side, so we know who's coming, who's interested, and why they're here. And quite frankly, Captain Bill said to me the other day, if somebody takes the time to write a letter, deliver it to town hall, wait it out, and have a discussion, feel free to come to the meeting and have a discussion on it, and discuss their merits. I think it just it's fair, it's more fair, and it formalizes the process a little bit. At that time, the person, then we have to present the person to the board of select board, and then move forward from there.
I already wrote a letter, and I'd like to move on it tonight.
Well, there's more than one letter.
Yeah, we've got two
We have two
deans.
letters.
There's two vacancies.
And no, there's
We
only
have one
one.
There's
vacancy.
only one
On a
vacancy.
board of 5. Do we have,
So-
I'll be very candid with you. We have two letters here right now. One is from Dean, who is here, and one is from Asa Mills from Main Road. And those came, well, I can't speak for you, Dean, but they came unsolicited of people of interest. So my suggestion is that we open it up, make the community aware that we do have a vacancy. Most other boards do post the vacancy.
This hasn't been posted.
This hasn't been posted. This has been, from my understanding,
Yeah, it's all
word of mouth.
word of mouth.
Is there a requirement?
No, we're gonna try to come
So
formalize.
if you have the Shellfish Advisory Committee that is supposedly acknowledged, experienced in shellfishing in Westport, to give their thoughts and their experience to the town as to what they think the laws should be, or whatever they think should happen with the shellfish, don't you think that a requirement of a person on the Shellfish Advisory Board be an experienced shellfisherman?
And
I don't think so.
not necessarily.
I do not. I think that's a conflict of interest. If you've got all commercial fishermen sitting up
Not
here,
commercial, just an experienced shellfisherman.
I don't think experience is a bad thing, but I don't think, I was a commercial fisherman for 30 years, so I'm not trying to get around that. I've been there and done that, owned many boats, and I'm a dealer now and own 2 companies that deal seafood, HACCP certified, the whole 9 yards. So I'm not trying to make excuses for myself, but in the past, it was the good old boy network where nobody wanted to do it. And so the only people who would do it was someone that the chair or somebody else recruited. And they always recruited people that they felt were going to be helpful to the board and bring knowledge and whatnot. So I don't think that anybody on the board is sitting here without the knowledge and the experience to be here. I also believe that there should be some type of I don't know if it should be a requirement, but I think it's a good thing to bring someone forward and ask them a few questions, if you have more than one, and say, hey, we might have a person who's wants to be on the Shellfish Advisory Board but has no idea what it entitles, and somebody else who's been fishing the river for 30 years who probably better suited for it. So I do think that that's a good idea.
That has the ability to advise.
But I don't know, since we're just an advisory board, I don't even know if we can start putting requirements for these chairs. We don't even really have any power, Jack.
Seems like common.
We don't really have any power. All we do up here is we're here to advise the selectmen because they don't know.
Right. Exactly. So don't you
That's
think
it.
people with experience-
We could say to the selectmen, they want 7 bushel quota, and we think that there should be, and they could go, no. Or vice versa.
Well, to your point, Jack, that's actually going exactly where I want to go. Just me as one person on this board, I want to give anyone who has an interest an opportunity to articulate it in writing, and then an opportunity to come in front of this board and sell themselves. Tell us what, I don't care if they're a biologist or whatever, if they seem to be a better person for the board, for the fit at that point in time, I think it's worthy of not only us as the board hearing it, but the people in the town who watch this on YouTube afterwards. And I believe that if, we all work for something, and I believe firmly that if you have an interest and you have something to share with the town, share it with the board in writing and verbally at the microphone, and then the board who has the ability to make the decision, make the recommendation to the select board.
Recommendation.
We bring that on board, we say X, Y, and Z, they're in whatever, and we make the recommendation, and they make the final decision because they are the appointing authority. So, I believe in people being able to have a conversation about it.
I know that when I was asked to be on the board, I had to go sit before the selectmen and tell them why I wanted to be on the board. I went up and sat at a selectmen meeting, and they all had a chance to ask me a question and ask me why I thought I should be on the board. And I had to tell them why. So I know that process has always been the way it was done, at least it was done for me. I don't know if you did or anyone else did, but that's
I had to go in front
how
of the board.
John Borden told me you got to go before the meeting on this night, go sit up there and tell them who you are and why you want to be there.
They thought you had a different agenda, being a buyer.
Maybe. I don't know. But the selectmen at that time, I got to be honest, and I think they do a great job in town, but they didn't really ask me much.
They don't know.
They don't know. They didn't ask me a lot. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but they didn't really, that's what we do, because, they have so much going on with water and sewer and town problems and money. They're like, oh,
It seems like we're going, you're just making it more complicated.
yeah. They rely on us to make good decisions and tell them, this is the way I think it should go. We've spoken to the fishermen say that they want to do it this way. We support it, Chris supports it, this is what we think you should do, and hopefully they go with our recommendation.
Well, we don't even have to have a timeline on it. We can just say, at our next meeting, and by the end of this night's meeting, we're going to come up with a date for the next meeting. That's one thing that I would like to do as chair, instead of just floating it out there until some bug flew into somebody's bonnet and decided we needed a meeting. But Dean, to your point, you took the time to write a letter, handwrite a letter, and bring it to town hall. I think everybody should follow your lead, quite honestly. I'm not blaming you or putting this on you, but you took the time as an interested party, whether you're a shellfisher, have to be politically correct, I guess, shellfisher or whatever, you took the time to do that. And so did Asa Mills. I think that's important. And it also brings legitimacy to everybody in this room, that we're a force in this town to be reckoned with. My position is this river is the heartbeat of the town, and the fishermen are here. And they have interests, and that's just my opinion,
So Rick, so Ron resigned effective the 7th,
March
it was?
Correct.
Why can't we just say we'll give it till the 7th of April?
Fine with me?
Or should we make a motion to accept the two letters presented before us today and put a 30-day timeline from today so that we have time to get it in the paper and people to respond? And, if we try and punch it out before the 7th, you think that's enough time? I'm okay with it, if you think that that's enough time to get this into the
Well,
secretary,
The
get
date-
get it posted, get it.
I think that's,
Chris knows.
the first step. I called Paula, after looking at the agenda this morning, I called Paula, and I said, Paula, do you have a universal appointment procedure for the many boards and advisory committees that are in the town? And Paula said, I don't think so. Because I wanted to go there first, because I didn't want to, because just in reading what is here, if there's something already existed, I wanted it to come here, and for us, because we would just be, dog chasing his tail. And she said no, and she didn't get back to me with it, so I don't think that she found anything. But in just sitting here, I believe that the vacancy should be posted somewhere so people have the opportunity to have a fair opportunity to go ahead and do that, and to write a letter. Paula also said that, please forward your recommendations to the select board for our April 14th meeting. So definitely, if the vacancy is posted, people write their letters, the advisory board would then make some sort of recommendation, and then it has to go to the select board as the final answer.
Yep.
Hopefully that clears things up a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I think it does. It also addresses Rick's concern that there be some period of time set forth to say, make your intentions known. I think 30 days is plenty. It's been vacated since the 7th. Let's give it till the 7th of April, which gives us time to get the recommendation to the select board on the 14th.
Well, just to follow up what you're saying, Cap, last night was the 24th. The select board officially recognized his resignation. So I think that's that's an important date. Aside the fact, Asa Mills' letter is dated 24th, just happened to be yesterday that Paula received it. But should we use as a date, the date that the select board accepts the resignation? Because that's the official date of the resignation.
April
They had to
7th,
make a
12
motion.
days.
Yeah.
They had to make a motion to
enough
accept
time.
the resignation.
It's enough time to get
Last
the
night.
letters already.
Yeah, but they found out a while ago. April 7th is 12 days from today.
So I
They
think,
knew about it before today.
how about for the purposes of this discussion tonight, we make a motion to get these letters in by the 14th, get the letters in and review. I think we should probably have a meeting prior to the 14th
Yeah.
to iron this out, get it to the
that
board
the
so we
next-
can have the opportunity for Dean or Asa or whoever else to speak. We make the recommendation to the board for the 14th of April.
Maybe the 7th.
And then from that point forward, I don't anticipate any vacancies on this group, I hope.
Would
not.
this be posted?
Yeah.
Would it have time to be
Yeah,
posted?
we're
Okay,
going to have Paula put it on the website.
great.
I mean, a website is acceptable as a form of posting.
As long as we're going.
We
through
don't
that
have to
good
use the
procedure.
newspaper anymore, so,
Which is expensive.
yeah.
The newspaper's
I
expensive.
do think it's important to get it done before the 14th, so that we can have a recommendation for them.
So do I,
Before the 14th, we probably would need to recommend, when they need to get it on an agenda, Chris? A couple days before?
They need it the Wednesday before the Monday.
for them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're gonna need it around the 8th or 9th or
I
something
think
like
it's like a
that.
Wednesday at noon, maybe? It's not the end of the day, it's like Wednesday at noon, you gotta get it there, and that's like the last straw,
Or
last chance qualifier to get on the agenda.
could they bring it up?
That would be the 8th.
Yeah.
So the 7th falls into line if we want to get it done before the selectmen's meeting. And chances are, it's going to be like Bruce's bid, where these are going to be the only two letters anyway, most likely.
Well,
But we went through the process correctly,
Yeah.
which we want to do henceforth. Not to say that the process was incorrect the last time, but I even asked Paul, I said, do I give a recommendation? I said, I think it's more the Shellfish Advisory Board is going to give this recommendation, and not me.
right, it would come from,
would
that's
come
my
from-
understanding from Paula, is it comes from the board.
Yes.
So I'm just looking at a calendar in my brain. If we were to meet on a Tuesday, the 7th, have the letters in hand by Tuesday, the 7th, review them, make the recommendation so that they can post it 48 hours prior for the open meeting law for the meeting on the 14th. Because when do they go to, Chris, you'd know better than I, when do they go to the weekly meetings?
Oh, geez. I always thought it was.
Because right now it's every other week, and
No,
then
there's
the
a-
election is what threw it off,
I think the election,
town election.
yeah, yeah. But it's usually 2 weeks.
Is it 2 weeks?
It's a
every other
two-week
week?
cycle, yeah. I don't think they ever go to a week cycle unless there's something that is burning with desire that needs to be decided on.
Must be my brain from years
Could
back.
it be posted tomorrow? Is that logistically possible?
I could certainly ask Paula to get it up there tomorrow.
Yeah, I think sooner
certainly-
begun
We
to
could
post
certainly
it.
do that.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
whether it gets there tomorrow, or what's tomorrow, Wednesday, or Thursday, or whatever, we can get it up, I would think ASAP.
All right, can I make a motion?
You may make a motion. I wish you would.
Any more discussion? So I'd like to make a motion to accept the 2 letters for the vacant Shellfish Advisory Board position, and to also post on the town website the vacancy so that we can resume our next meeting, anybody else who's interested, and have a recommendation for the selectmen prior to their next meeting.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Any further discussion? Chris?
4 of us would decide who,
We decide to make the recommendation. The board,
okay.
select board can always overrule it.
The 4 of us would recommend the person for the vacant seat.
For the 5th seat.
Okay.
And then the board either approves it or nixes it, the select board.
Right, okay.
Which is not likely. That they-
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right. We had thank you, by the way. There's a piece here, an agenda item here, it's the introduction of Kim Souls, B.D. Souls, from Roger William University, about partnerships, but she's not here now, so I don't think we're going to go into it. Are we okay to pass by that?
Yeah, let me give you a little bit of background if you haven't heard. I met Ms. Souls at, it was Kerrian's talk at the Watershed Alliance about aquaculture. She is the director of Roger Williams University's aquaculture program. She filled my head for about 2 minutes of all kinds of great ideas, which all kind of rang true with me. So I tried to get her here so that she could discuss the ideas that she may have in front of all of us. I sent her an initial email that she did respond to. Sent her a second email telling her the date of this meeting and the location. And she just ghosted us, or me. So as far as I'm concerned, that is just a dead end. And it's unfortunate because I think that would be a great connection for us, a great resource. But if she's not here, there's not much we can do about it. If she doesn't answer emails, there's not much we can do about it. So,
What did you say your name was?
Kim Souls.
BD Soul.
Souls. S-O-U-L-E-S.
She's a Westporter. She's been around, pretty experienced in the aquaculture world.
One of the girls who started with Scott Soares and Becky's brother, she started aquaculture, seeding and growing algae and things like that. She became part of the faculty and part of the aquaculture program at Roger Williams College. But she was friends with Scott Soares and the people that started the Scallop Restoration Program in Westport. I thought that might have been her, but that's a good program.
Yeah, oh, for sure. I was really kind of dying to make the connection. We've tried a couple of times already to.
And that program could help you with, I'm sorry. I'm get Chris upset, I'm not talking to the microphone.
Thank you, thank you.
I thought, looking at the recording on TV at the last Shellfish meeting, advisory meeting, I think you mentioned something, or somebody mentioned about maybe you starting up the Shellfish Shack in growing seed again. That would be, Roger Williams University would be very helpful in helping you with that. What is that, what is the standing of that right now?
I think we need to talk about that more. It's not particularly on the agenda tonight, but we've been kind of back and forth with that, and not quite sure we have a plan of attack for this.
Yeah, it's a facility
Yeah,
that's kind of like
I think
waste right now.
what I understood from discussions with Bill and the board, we need money. So one of the avenues that we've discussed and is ongoing in another venue is to take the Shell Stock event and to make that a 501c3, which would be nonprofit, so that we can allocate money to where we want it to go. Right now, we're under the town's umbrella, and it's all Shellfish Propagation Fund, and we can't do anything with it but put it into that fund, which isn't a bad thing. But when we started it, it was a small thing, and now it's a $40,000, $50,000 a year thing. So we need funding from other sources to do projects like that. And right now, we are in another venue trying to get that done, which was more intensive than we thought with, you know, the 501c3 nonprofit thing and lawyers and Internal Revenue Service and everything else. But I think that that's one of the things that Bill would have probably had this done already if somebody had said, here's 2,500, go get it.
Right.
You know, so I think that that is one of the issues that we're having.
Yeah, well, I would agree with what Skip just said, but short of a plan of attack, as far as what we do down the line with that, it just seems to me that before we take that first step, let's know what step 2 and 3 is, where we're gonna go with this.
Just to follow up what, what was just said, there's always the opportunity when you partnership with academia, whether it's SMAS in New Bedford or Roger Williams or whoever it is, grant money and funding. So I know things are changing in the world rapidly, but nonetheless, if, you know, that's always an opportunity that's available, whether we get to that point or not, that's something else that was spinning around in the back of our heads. You know, we have the SMAS over at UMass, over here in the New Bedford office, as well as her. So anyway, going forward, I would think maybe for now we table this and until we can hear back from her, or not hear back from her, one or the other, whatever it is, and from there just move on. And at that point, like Skip said, we have a conversation about it. We talk about it. Hopefully, you guys will be coming back, guys and women will be coming back, you know, to participate, because quite frankly, historically, we've always sat in front of an empty room. And this is kind of refreshing to have people take an hour out of the hour and a half. So, do I have a motion to table that? Table the discussion with her? since
If
she's not
you
here?
think that it's worth
Well, yeah,
Pursuing.
Can certainly
Give her
follow up
another-
again. I didn't get her phone number, I only got her email address, and I got that from the watershed folks. I can certainly send her another correspondence and say what's going on. So, yeah, let's
let's table it.
table it for the time being. Motion, we table the issue of work with Kim Bead Souls until we have more information.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Second?
Aye.
Chris, second. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Okay, lastly, whether you call it new business or items not anticipated within the past 48 hours, either or, it's the same thing. Do we have any items that have come forward since this was posted?
Yeah, just quickly. Ron Severi was out doing oysters, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, a month ago. And he sent a picture to a bunch of us, and it was a picture of a juvenile oyster attached to a scallop shell. Now, you guys may or may not know, we did culturing last June, was it?
Last June.
We dumped all those old scallop shells that were in the overflow parking lot on top of the beds at Hicks Bridge. When I saw that picture, it kind of told me that, boy, maybe what we did made some difference. Maybe it helped a little bit. And the comments I have heard, and I don't do oysters, and I don't tend to, but the comments that I've heard is that there are a lot of juvenile oysters there. Maybe you guys can tell me otherwise. But if my assumption is correct, and that this culching was effective, it tells me that maybe we should do it again. So I started looking into what other towns do for culching practices. There's about a dozen coastal towns in southeastern Mass that do it. And they take different methods to go about it. I'll give you an example. The town of Sandwich collects oyster shells, because of course they're not wanted in landfills anymore. You've got to do something other than cap off your landfill with oyster shells. They say you can collect them at our transfer station, but they have to be from Sandwich Waters. In other words, we don't want somebody else's oysters, cohogs, whatever. Other towns are a lot more forgiving. So the point is, there are a lot of towns that participate in culching because they've got oysters. And we don't have any scallop shells left. That pile is down to almost nothing. So where do we get it from? You have to remember that the state requires any shell that is used in culching to, I think the word they use is cure or something, for 1 year. Now, the 1 year thing is, it's more of a guideline than it is a regulation. Nobody has to come and test the shell before it gets dispersed. The point is, if that is something that would help the oyster beds, we need to come up with a source of shells to culture. And I guess what I wanted to kind of bring up tonight was, where do we go from this? We don't have any shells. Is culching even something we want to do going forward? And let me just give you one more little bit to chew on. There's something called the Massachusetts Oyster Program. It's been in effect since 2021. What they do is they collect oyster shells from restaurants. And they put them at their designated landfill areas, keep them there for a year, and then they go out and culch.
And you take and check with some of the shucking houses and stuff like that, like the Lawns down in Wareham and stuff like that, see what they're doing with all their clam shells, scallop shells, all that type of stuff?
Wareham is the latest town to join that, Scott. They are involved in this Mass Oyster Project. What they do with it after that, I'm not quite sure, but I know
The
that.
the shucking houses would be where you getting the bulk of your shells from in any kind of quantity.
Well, my thinking is, looking at some of the pictures that I saw today with some of these towns that started collecting shells, it just turned into a monster.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm guessing they probably would like to get rid of some of that.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the source we go at. You just can't grab what they call green
No,
shells.
they have to be clean, they
You
have to be dry. When you put them out, you gotta time it just right. You wanna take and try to get when the oysters are gonna be spat and stuff like that, because if you put them out 2 weeks, 3 weeks ahead of time, they're gonna get slimed up and they're not gonna catch a damn thing. You have to really put them out when you're supposed to.
Well, anybody remember what date that was? Early June, late June we did that?
I'm sorry, say it
You
again.
you should
When
take
did
a
we-
little research to find out what
did it
temperature,
first week of
like
June.
oysters spat out at,
I'll tell you
We
when,
did it,
and that's what you should go by.
I think we did it post.
right after.
Don't just go by a date.
Passed away.
I was part of it.
Right around
I
Father's Day.
think we did it. We did
Yeah.
that post.
John passed away.
So we missed
I
it.
think yours is already spat.
It was the following
Put the
Saturday.
shells down. But if you want my opinion,
21st.
I don't think
Yeah, it was
that was that successful.
year
I've
before.
been-
Yeah.
I've
The
been
22nd.
Getting a lot of oyster shells in my,
I got a picture on some of the pictures.
The 22nd of June.
and there's not that much
Was it?
fat on.
When was
the-
it?
on the
22nd of
oysters,
June.
On the scallop shells.
That was the date.
It seems
Yeah,
like
they
it's more
prefer-
on the oysters.
They prefer oyster shells.
He died
So
right
it's-
before.
So in my opinion, it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
June 22.
It would be nice to enhance the bed somehow, give them a substrate.
Right, but
As
How to
far
do
as
that
that
is-
goes, though, you could take and hang bags under the bridge to catch, and do culch bags to catch the spat, to see what you caught before you dump all that shell over all the oysters.
Well, we could also buy seed and dump it right on top of the bed too.
So if you're gonna do like an aquaculture thing with the upwelling and stuff like that, if you did oysters in that, you could get diploids and triploids that grow like they're on steroids, and raise them, grow them out, and plant them the same year, and they'd be fine. You just can't plant them before they harden the shell up, because it's just crab food.
No, point taken. So, I mean, all I was trying to kind of get from everybody here is this worth even going after?
Depends on the manpower available. This all takes a lot of effort,
Yeah, it was a lot of guys, wasn't it? Last year, a lot of trucks.
takes a lot of effort.
I think we would,
yeah, more than 1 year,
Any other pieces?
a couple of years?
I don't recall.
Yeah, more than 1 year.
We've done it the last two in a row. Now we're out of shells because we haven't had a ban of scallop season.
You know, but you're right, Jack, we do need some more information. And I tend to find myself at the computer a little bit more than I used to be, just looking for that very stuff like salinity, temperature, and the whole 9 yards. So, yeah, there's a lot to it. So just dumping a bunch of shells somewhere is not the answer, right? It's gotta be planned and thought out a little bit. So, I don't know, I guess we could just table this and
Yeah.
gather some more information.
Plant the seed.
I asked Bosco from, well, speaking of my kid,
2 or 3 years ago, I asked Vasco if he would be willing to, Vasco from Red's Best Seafood, they shuck sea scallops all the time. And I asked him if he was willing to donate some, a couple of truckloads of shell to Westport to do something like that. And he was willing to do that. But then you think of, okay, where are you going to dump the shells? And they're not going to be clean. They're going to smell. So you're creating a monster. You're going to have neighbors that are going to be complaining about the smell, all for what? Yeah, I don't think the oyster beds are in bad shape. I think they're in a fantastic shape. I think Westport has a great amount of shellfish bottom. I'm kind of like I'm not even really for buying oyster seed, because I think there's plenty of oysters there. I would say spend the money on some other seed, on coax seed or something else. But what I've seen so far this year, and the catches, the amount of oysters that I caught this year, and the scallop shells that have come up in the tongs, there's not. I didn't see much. Last year I didn't see any at all. This year I'm seeing some, but there's so much spat this year on almost every oyster. More so on the oysters than there is on the. I think Chris has found the same thing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think the problem is you spend 2/3 of your time chipping spat. And that's a good problem to have. But honestly, Jack, my experience this year has been that there's a fair amount of oysters up there. We're only taking 2 baskets, but are we thinking down the road far enough? Because are we going to go to 2 baskets and in 3 years go down to 1 basket, and then we kill a fishery? That's what worries me going forward. Not that I'm the best oyster in town, but it seems like it takes me hours now to get 2 baskets as opposed to 3. And I know a lot of that's because there's a ton of spat up there. But that spat, when is that spat going to be harvestable? 7 years, Chris? 5 years?
Oh, it grows quicker than you think.
Still growing up there.
Exactly.
It can grow quicker than you think. We have Kendall Tripp that did the floats in that area, and he said, "Hey, come take a look at this." And he had a oyster that grew on the float in 1 year, and it was amazing how big it was. So if they have the food, I think something that we've talked about before, and this is something that rings in my head from John Borden, and he said, for every shell that you take out of that oyster bed, you need to put one back in. And I think that is something that is so true, because this isn't a relay area. This isn't a take. We need to have some sort of substrate that's going to go back in it, whether it's artificial or it's something that has been cured long enough. I think that in talking with Carrion at the Oyster Bar, getting a skeleton bucket and getting sea clam shells from the state beach, I don't know how legal that is, but we're just looking at what's in this town and what can we use. Also, to have an artificial substrate that could be hung in bags that would then have spat stuck to. I think we have to come at it, as long as everything is clean, we have to come at it from many angles, because this is an ancient oyster reef, per John Borden, and we all know, and that we have to add back into it. And I think we're taking more than we're adding at this point in time. So I think that this is a critical moment that we really need to think about having the shell or artificial substrate or whatever we're going to have for the next generation to be able to stick to.
Yeah.
And to keep this up. Because if we're just going there taking 2 bushels and 2 bushels and 2 bushels, and we're not putting one in for one out, I think that's where we're going to run into a problem. So I think this needs to get investigated some more.
I agree, Chris. I think Mother Nature would put 2 shells back for every one that died.
Something,
I'll
I mean,
just tell you this, I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but in 1970, you couldn't water ski at low tide from Cadman's Neck north, because if you fell, you'd cut yourself. You remember that, Jack? There was oysters from Cadman's Neck all the way up.
Yeah.
They were thick. I know because I made a mistake one day as a young fella. I threw a scallop drag in thinking I was going to catch scallops down there, and I towed it about the length of this table, and it was full of oysters. Unbelievable. And it's not like that anymore. But there's still product in the river. And I was going to just add one thing. If we can use scallop shells, why can't we use clam shells? Right? I mean, clam shells you can buy. Clam shells you can buy.
You can also use concrete. You can
Yeah,
spray
yeah, well.
concrete on whatever, just a thin layer.
That's got a whole nother environmental issue, though.
Splatters.
I agree with you, but that's an environmental nightmare, I think, if we start dumping concrete in there, but
I can tell you that
I-
the state of Georgia requires you, if you lease public land for aquaculture, there's a formula for every shell that you take out, you have to put back, I want to say it's 1.5 shells on top of that.
I think this conversation's going in the right way because we do want to, as the director said, we really should be looking at the future here. I mean, in the years that I've been up there, and I'm not saying I've been up there half, quarter along as most of you guys that have been up there, but I see that it's dropping off, and there's oysters up there, and there's healthy oysters up there, but that doesn't mean they're going to be there forever. And, you know, I think part of the charge of this committee, the Shellfish Advisory Board, is to try to, you know, to have conversation about how we keep the river active, how we keep it fluid and healthy, so that there is a fishery, whether it's oysters, quahogs, scallops, whatever it may be.
It would be nice to take and get some oysters out of the 2 tents area and down in the open area where we could fish on them all the time and actually get the dealers to buy them and give us a decent price, because the salinity's better, the oysters are gonna be better shell-wise, and you get more money, and you be able to fish them all the time, instead of this hit and miss thing with the 2 tents area, where the dealers, half the time, don't even wanna buy them because they can't get them on a regular basis.
Yeah, good point.
We tried that before.
So, I mean, on that, I think it was just, I think you brought it up, Bill, just for purpose
It
of
was food
discussion.
for thought, really.
Just a thought.
You know, like, is this something we want to do? And if so, how do we go about it? So, I think we.
But I think what we'll do is do a little bit more investigating, and we'll have conversation about it, see where it goes. But, you know, the input from you is important to us, because everybody has a different view, everybody fishes differently, everybody fishes different areas that are open. And, having said that, what I'd like to do, and I think this goes back to a previous conversation, is set a next meeting date. And that's going to have a lot to do with agenda item 7. So if we have to, it's the 14th, Chris, did you say is the next board meeting?
14th is the, yeah.
the 14th is a Monday.
So they would have to post the Wednesday
It would have to be posted by the 9th.
by the 9th. So if we met on the 8th,
Can we get it to the selectman secretary?
That's a town election. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't think having a meeting during a town election, I don't think that would happen. So the 7th,
Yeah, 7th. Let's move it to Monday. That'd be a little bit better, too, because you can get it up to the town hall.
Yeah, it'd give you an extra day.
Yeah.
Now, there's a select board does not meet. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
on that.
Monday the 7th, 17:30 hours, okay? Is that okay with Chris?
I'm in.
CB?
17:30 on the 7th.
17:30.
Unless
the
you want to
7th.
do it on the 1st.
No, that's only next week.
Well,
Be hard to get it
that's-
posted by then.
well, it would be a very quick meeting.
Not really hard to
Because
get.
that's
it.
what
We have to post it.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah. So the posting. Sure.
Okay, so the next meeting will be, hopefully this room's open, should be, because the election is the next day, on 4/7 at 17:30 hours, right? Do I do I hear a motion for adjournment?
I motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.